Have you ever walked out of a doctor's appointment, sat in your car, and realized you forgot to ask your most important question? Or perhaps you tried to bring up a nagging concern, a subtle new ache or a feeling of fatigue, only to have it brushed aside as just a normal part of getting older. You leave feeling a little smaller, a little more worried, and with the sense that the 15 minutes you waited, an hour for, just evaporated. If that sounds familiar, I want you to know you are not alone. And more importantly, I'm here today to respectfully challenge the idea that this is something we just have to accept. The truth is, that rushed feeling is real. Some experts in geriatric care estimate that a truly comprehensive appointment for an older adult should take up to 2 hours, a time frame that is almost a fantasy in today's healthcare system. But here is the secret that can change everything. The problem isn't necessarily your doctor. The problem is the system. And understanding that system is the key to taking back control. Over the next few minutes, we are going to unlock 6 foundational health truths that your doctor might know, but simply doesn't have the time to explain. These are the truths that empower you, that transform you from a passive patient into the respected, active leader of your own healthcare team. Now, I want to be very clear from the outset. The title of this video is Why Your Doctor Can't Tell You Everything, and I know that can sound provocative. This is not about blaming doctors. Far from it. Most doctors are dedicated, brilliant, and deeply caring people working under immense pressure. This is about understanding the world they work in, a world of shrinking appointment times and overwhelming paperwork, so that you can help them help you. Think of this as your personal guide to becoming the most effective partner your doctor has ever had. We're going to draw on guidance from some of the most respected institutions in the country, like the National Institute on Aging and the Mayo Clinic, to give you practical, actionable strategies. We'll explore 6 key areas, starting with how to prepare for your appointments to maximize every second, and moving all the way to the subtle but powerful ways you can build a true partnership with your physician. And you'll definitely want to stick around for truth number 2, which deals with something most of us have in our medicine cabinets right now and rarely think twice about. By the end of our time together, you won't just feel more confident walking into that exam room. You'll have the tools to ensure you walk out feeling heard, understood, and in control of your health journey. And just a quick but very important reminder, I am not a doctor, and this video is for informational purposes only. The goal here is to help you prepare for more effective conversations with your own qualified medical professionals. Please, always consult your doctor before making any changes to your healthcare routine. All right, let's begin with the first and most fundamental truth. It's the bedrock upon which everything else is built. Health truth number 1 is that you are the world's leading expert on your own body. So you must come prepared. Let's imagine a scenario. For the last month, you've noticed that you're more out of breath after climbing the stairs. Or maybe there's a new, dull ache in your shoulder that wasn't there before. In the whirlwind of a short appointment, focused on refilling a prescription, it's easy for that detail to get lost. You might forget, or you might mention it, and it gets a quick, well, let's keep an eye on it. This happens because while your doctor has the medical degree, you hold the PhD in you. They see a 15-minute snapshot of your health. You are living in your body 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know what's normal for you and what isn't. The tragedy is that crucial information often gets lost simply because there's no structure for sharing it. In fact, studies have shown that doctors, often pressed for time, may interrupt a patient within seconds of them starting to speak. This isn't meant to be rude. It's a symptom of a packed schedule, but it means your window to share your expertise is incredibly small. I remember hearing about a woman, much like our friend Carol from the audience persona, who was feeling profoundly tired for months. Her primary concern was her arthritis, so that's what her appointments focused on. She mentioned the fatigue, but it was often chalked up to her age or the arthritis itself. Frustrated, she started keeping a simple, one-line-a-day journal, felt exhausted after grocery shopping, needed a nap at 2 p.m., too tired to go for my evening walk. After 2 months, she brought this simple log to her doctor. Seeing the persistent, documented pattern laid out on a single piece of paper changed everything. It wasn't just a vague complaint anymore, it was data. Her doctor immediately ordered a full thyroid panel, and sure enough, she was diagnosed with hypothyroidism. A simple pill transformed her energy levels, but it was her expertise and her preparation that led to the diagnosis. The action step here is to prepare what some experts call a brief opening statement. Before your appointment, write down the top 1 to 3 things you want to discuss. Put the most important one first. Then, create a simple one-page health summary that lists your conditions, your medications, your specialists, and your pharmacy's phone number. Hand a copy to the nurse or doctor at the beginning of the visit. This act alone frames you as an organized, serious partner in your care. And when you bring up a concern, phrase it with the authority of your expertise. Instead of, "I feel kind of tired lately," try, "Doctor, I've been tracking my energy levels for the past month, and I've noticed a consistent and significant decline. I'm concerned because this is a new pattern for me." That language gets attention. Being prepared with your own data is the first step, but this flows directly into our next truth, which is about questioning the data and the prescriptions you're given in return. This brings us to health truth number 2. Polypharmacy is a major risk, so you must learn to question every pill. Now, let me start this with an empathetic frame. We do what our doctors say. When a trusted physician prescribes a medication, we take it. We do this because we believe it will help us, and this trust is the foundation of good healthcare. But as we get older, our health picture can become more complex. We might see a cardiologist for our heart, a rheumatologist for our arthritis, and our primary care physician for everything else. If these doctors aren't communicating perfectly, you can become the unwitting victim of what's called polypharmacy, simply the use of multiple medications. The danger here is what I call the medication paradox. I saw this happen with my own grandfather. He was put on a new blood pressure medication, and it worked, but a side effect was mild dizziness. A few weeks later, that mild dizziness caused him to lose his footing on a single step, leading to a fall that broke his hip. The fall and the long, difficult recovery was an infinitely greater threat to his health and independence than the slightly elevated blood pressure ever was. This is the paradox. Sometimes the treatment can cause a bigger problem than the original condition. There's also a phenomenon called a prescribing cascade, where a doctor prescribes a drug, it causes a side effect, and then another doctor prescribes a second drug to treat the side effect of the first drug, without realizing the root cause. This can spiral quickly. A friend of mine tells a powerful story about her father, a man in his late 70s who was becoming increasingly confused and lethargic. The whole family was terrified, thinking it was the start of a rapid cognitive decline. They were having hushed, painful conversations about memory care. By sheer luck, his daughter took him to a new pharmacist to refill his prescriptions. The pharmacist, a sharp young woman, looked at his list of medications from 2 different doctors, and her eyes went wide. She realized he was on 2 drugs that, when taken together, were known to have a powerful sedative and cognitive dulling effect in older adults. She called one of the doctors, They adjusted the medication, and within a week, he was back to his old self, sharp, engaged, and doing the daily crossword puzzle. The family's greatest fear was actually just a drug interaction. The action step here is what's known as a brown bag review. At least once a year, put every single thing you take, prescription pills, over-the-counter medications like pain relievers or allergy pills, vitamins, and herbal supplements into a single bag and take it to your primary doctor or your pharmacist. Ask them to go through it with you piece by piece. For each one, ask 3 simple but powerful questions. 1. What specifically is this for? 2. Is it still absolutely necessary, or is it possible to deprescribe? And 3. What are the most common side effects I should watch for? This simple annual ritual can be life-changing. You can start this conversation by saying, "Doctor, I'd like to do a full review of all my medications today, including supplements, just to be sure they are all still helping me and not hurting me." Taking control of what goes into your body is a profound act of self-advocacy. This idea of separating helpful treatments from potentially harmful ones extends beyond the pharmacy. It also applies to the vast sea of health advice we swim in every day, which leads us straight to our third truth. Health truth number 3 is that not all health advice is created equal, and it's time to debunk the myths of aging. Let's be honest, we've all heard them. The old adages and beliefs about getting older, often passed down from our own parents or friends with the best of intentions. You're over 70. You need to take it easy. Aches and pains are just part of the deal. It's all downhill from here. These phrases, while common, can be incredibly damaging. They come from a place of concern, but they are rooted in outdated science and a fundamentally disempowering view of aging. They create a self-fulfilling prophecy of decline. But the science tells a very different, much more hopeful story. For example, a terrifying statistic we often hear is about dementia. But let's look at the reality. A key hook I read recently pointed out that while it's true that about 1/3 of people over the age of 85 may have some form of dementia, that means a staggering 2/3 of them do not. The majority of people live their entire lives with their minds intact. Decline is not a foregone conclusion. Or consider the myth about exercise. Someone with arthritic knees might be told, "Don't overdo it, you'll wear out your joints." The reality, as supported by institutions like Rush University Medical Center, is that exercise, particularly strength training, builds up the muscles that support the joint, which can actually reduce arthritis pain and improve function. Think of the muscles around your knee as a natural, living knee brace. Stronger muscles mean a more stable, less painful joint. I am so inspired by the story of a woman named Joan, who I read about in an AARP article. At 78, she felt weak and unsteady. Her world was shrinking. Instead of taking it easy, she joined a gym and started working with a trainer on a gentle strength training program. Within 6 months, she had gone from someone who was afraid to carry her own groceries to someone who could get down on the floor to play with her great-grandchildren, and more importantly, get back up again without help. She didn't just defy a myth, she reclaimed her independence. The clear action step here is to become a critical consumer of health information. Question any advice that sounds like a blanket statement about all older people. Seek out information from trusted, credible sources. The National Institute on Aging, the Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins Medicine, and major university health systems have fantastic, evidence-based resources online for the public. When you hear a piece of advice, ask yourself, is this based on modern science, or is this an old belief? And you can use this to engage your doctor. You could say, "Doctor, for years I believed that I should avoid exercise because of my arthritis, but I've been reading from the National Institute on Aging that gentle strength training can actually help. What are your thoughts on me starting a program like that?" This shows you're proactive and basing your choices on credible information, not just old wives' tales. All right, let's just take a quick pause here. We're halfway through our 6 truths. We've talked about the power of preparing for your appointment like an expert, the critical need to review your medications, and the importance of debunking the disempowering myths about aging. These first 3 truths are all about arming yourself with the right information and the right mindset. They are huge, foundational steps toward taking control of your health. If you're finding this guide helpful, if any of this is resonating with you, I would be so grateful if you took just 1 second to tap that like button below this video. It tells YouTube that this content is valuable, and it helps other people just like you find it. Thank you so much for that. Now let's dive into the second half, where we shift from information to relationships, starting with a conversation that is one of the most important you will ever have with your doctor. This brings us to health truth number 4. Your goals of care may be very different from your doctor's goals, and you need to talk about it. Imagine this scenario. You're diagnosed with a serious condition. Your doctor, a brilliant surgeon, recommends a major, high-risk operation. From a purely clinical perspective, the surgery has a decent chance of extending your life by a year or 2. The doctor's goal, his definition of a win, is a technically successful surgery and a longer lifespan. But the surgery also comes with a painful 3-month recovery in a rehabilitation facility, away from your home, your garden, and your family. Your personal goal, your definition of a win, might be to have the best possible quality of life in the months you have now, to be able to walk your dog, to sit on your own porch, to attend your grandchild's spring concert. In this case, your goal of care, quality of life, is in direct conflict with the doctor's potential goal of quantity of life. This isn't about being morbid or giving up. It is the ultimate act of taking control. It's about defining what living well means to you. As Kaiser Health News has reported, this conversation about shared decision-making is one of the most critical and often overlooked aspects of senior healthcare. Research has shown that when older patients feel their doctor understands their life goals and engages them in a shared decision, their trust in that doctor skyrockets. It changes the entire dynamic from a top-down instruction to a side-by-side collaboration. I was deeply moved by the story of a woman who was facing her 3rd round of a grueling chemotherapy regimen. The odds were low, and she knew the side effects would leave her bedridden and exhausted. Instead of proceeding, she sat down with her doctor and had this exact conversation. She said, "My goal for the next 6 months is not to fight. My goal is to feel well enough to have lunch with my sisters once a week and to sit in my garden." Together, she and her doctor shifted the plan from aggressive treatment to palliative care, focusing entirely on managing her symptoms and maximizing her comfort and her joy. She spent her final months living, not just surviving. The action step here is to do the homework before you're in a crisis. Take a piece of paper and write down the answer to this question. What makes a day a good day for me? Is it being pain-free? Is it being independent in your home? Is it mental clarity? Knowing your own priorities is crucial. Then, you can bring this into the conversation with your doctor. You can say, "Doctor, thank you for explaining the medical options. To help us decide, can we talk about how each of these would affect my personal goals? For me, the most important thing is maintaining my independence at home." This reframes the entire discussion around what truly matters to you. Having this conversation can feel daunting, which is why it's often best not to have it alone. And that leads us directly to our fifth truth. Health truth number 5 is simple but non-negotiable. You need an advocate in the room with you. Think about the last time you got some unexpected or complicated medical news. Your heart starts beating a little faster. Your mind is racing. The doctor is explaining the options, using words you may not fully understand. It's an incredibly stressful environment. In that state, it is nearly impossible to listen critically, process complex information, take accurate notes, and think of good questions all at the same time. You walk out of the appointment and your spouse or your child asks, "So what did the doctor say?" And you find you can only remember about half of it, and the details are fuzzy. This is normal. It's how the human brain responds to stress. An advocate acts as your second set of ears, your official note-taker, and your emotional support system. There's a powerful story I read about an 88-year-old man who, along with his wife, was still living independently and thriving. When asked his secret, he didn't point to a diet or an exercise plan. He credited his daughter, who was a doctor herself. He said she attended every single one of his and his wife's important medical appointments. She acted as their interpreter, translating medical jargon into plain English. She made sure their questions were answered and advocated for their goals. Now, of course, most of us don't have a child who happens to be a physician, but the principle is the same. We can all have an advocate. The action step is to consciously choose your healthcare advocate. This could be your spouse, an adult child, a sibling, a sharp-minded neighbor, or even a trusted friend. Before the appointment, sit down with them. Give them a copy of your one-page health summary and your list of questions. Give them a specific job. You could say, "John, can you do me a huge favor? In this appointment, could you just focus on taking notes so I can focus on listening?" Or, "Mary, can you please make sure that before we leave, we ask the doctor about the side effects of that new medication?" This takes the pressure off you. And when you arrive, introduce them to the doctor clearly and confidently. "Doctor, this is my daughter, Sarah. She's here today to be my second set of ears and help me take notes." This simple introduction normalizes their presence and immediately establishes a team approach. Having that advocate by your side physically changes the dynamic in the room. It turns what can feel like an interrogation into a collaborative meeting. And that idea of collaboration is the final and most powerful truth we need to explore. This brings us to our sixth and final truth. Trust is not a given. It is a partnership that you actively build. For many of us who grew up in a different era of medicine, the model was very paternalistic. The doctor was the unquestioned authority, and the patient's role was to listen and comply. "Doctor knows best" was the prevailing wisdom. This came from a place of deep respect for the profession, and that respect is still vital. However, the complexities of modern healthcare, especially as we age, require an evolution of that model. It requires us to step up and become an active partner. Many people, like Carol, feel hesitant to ask too many questions or to express a different opinion, fearing they'll be labeled a difficult patient. The truth is, most doctors want an engaged patient. An engaged patient is more likely to follow treatment plans correctly, more likely to report side effects early, and more likely to have better health outcomes. You are not being difficult. You are being a good partner. Research from the journal Patient Education and Counseling has confirmed what good doctors have known for years. For older patients, the feeling of being involved in shared decision-making is one of the strongest predictors of trust in their physician. Trust isn't just about liking your doctor. It's about building a reliable, two-way street of communication. I love the story of a gentleman who was meeting a new primary care physician for the first time after his longtime doctor retired. He was nervous. He walked in, shook the new doctor's hand, and said, "Doctor, it's very important to me that we can work together as a team on my health. To help us get started, I've brought a one-page summary of my conditions and a list of my top 3 concerns for today." He said the doctor's face just lit up. The doctor told him, "That is the most helpful thing a patient has done for me all week. Thank you." The action step here is to consciously use collaborative language in your appointments. Instead of just asking, "What should I do?" try asking, "What are our options here?" or "What can we do to get this blood pressure down?" Phrasing it as "we" and "us" subtly reframes the relationship. You can be direct and say, "I really want to be an active participant in my own healthcare. Can you help me understand the pros and cons of this treatment so we can make the best decision together?" This isn't challenging their authority. It's inviting them into a partnership with the one person who knows your body best, you. So let's bring it all home. We've walked through 6 profound truths today, and my hope is that you see them not as a list of complaints, but as a toolkit for empowerment. Each one is a win for your health. Your first win is recognizing that you are the expert on your body and preparing for your appointments to share that expertise. Your second win is taking control of your medicine cabinet, questioning every pill through a regular brown bag review. Your third win is breaking free from the old, disempowering myths about aging and embracing what science tells us is possible. Your fourth win is having the courage to define your own goals of care, focusing on your quality of life. Your fifth win is bringing an advocate, a trusted ally, into the exam room with you. And your sixth, and perhaps greatest win, is intentionally building a true partnership with your doctor based on collaboration and trust. These are not small things. They are the cornerstones of maintaining your health, your autonomy, and your independence for years to come. Remember, you are the CEO of your own health. Your doctor is your most trusted and important consultant, but you are in charge of the company. You have the power to direct your care, to ask the hard questions, and to ensure that your healthcare journey aligns with your life's goals. Now, I would love to hear from you. This is a conversation, and your wisdom is a vital part of it. In the comments below, please share which of these 6 truths was the biggest aha moment for you. Was it the idea of a brown bag review, the need for an advocate, or something else entirely? Reading through the experiences of this community is incredibly valuable for all of us. And finally, if you found this deep dive guide to be helpful and empowering, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the little notification bell. We're dedicated to bringing you in-depth, research-backed content to help you navigate your health with confidence and clarity. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Be well, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next video.